What is up, everybody? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, April 25th, 2019. Thanks for coming by. If you're a replay viewer, I'm going to actually, for you, get right into this video. I was actually about to record this video, but decided I'm just going to record it live instead of editing. I have a busy day. So I'm going to actually just start now, jump into the video. The title of the video, Bitcoin and Litecoin, when do I buy? That really is it, because at the end of the day, that's really, I think, the ultimate question on everybody's minds. Even people that aren't even invested in cryptocurrency yet, they're wondering, they're out there wondering to themselves, when should I buy? You know, I was just texting a friend earlier. He's thinking, when should he buy? So whether you're not in crypto yet or you're thinking about accumulating more cryptocurrency, it really is the number one question on everybody's mind. I don't even care who you are. Probably some of the biggest leaders and names in the cryptocurrency space, probably asking themselves, when should I buy more? Maybe scouring YouTube as well, just like many people, trying to find the secret technical analysis to answer the question, when should you buy? So in this video, I'm going to talk about when I buy. Many of you know, I like to buy the dips. It's the best approach. And so that's namely what we're going to talk about in this video. So I'm going to lay the groundwork with some example technical analysis to really paint the picture of when I buy. So let's start with that. This is a video. It's a very short clip and I tweeted this yesterday, but it's from April 3rd, earlier in the month. At this time, Litecoin, and I'm using Litecoin for this example, Litecoin was trading at $88. It had already almost gone up to $100, and it actually just happened, I think 8 hours prior or something like that. But let's take a look at this short clip. This is going to really lay the groundwork here for answering that question of when I buy. Take it Fibonacci from right there to swing high. And we can even look, even on the short term, there is confluence with, and this is a 4-hour chart, the 618 and the 786. There's confluence with that $70 area to that intercedes with the upper trend line. So for pullback's sake, that is a great target area for just that first level of support to watch for. And if momentum looks good, and if volume, depending on volume as well, that is the part where I tend to start accumulating and buying that dip, right? So that really answers the question of my approach. You saw me a few weeks ago after Litecoin ran up to almost $100. I'm waiting for $70 at that point, based on technical analysis. And I want to throw this out there. If you're watching this video, I'm not sitting here being like, look what I did, I called it. Because if you watch my videos, if you follow along my technical analysis, I will have two scenarios on any given day. It'll be a bullish scenario and a continuation in that bullish move, or it'll be a pullback scenario, right? That's what technical analysis is for, is for finding targets in those two scenarios. Target on the upside, target on the downside. That is what I do. So essentially, I'll always be right because it's going to go up or down for the most part. But what makes it powerful is on any given day, I have those scenarios in the back of my mind. I have worst case scenario, I have best case scenario. And from that point, it allows me to not think emotionally and to accumulate at my own comfort level, accumulate at my own risk tolerance level. And that is the most powerful approach to accumulation, to investing, and that's the best approach in terms of investing. So yes, in this video on April 3rd, I was looking for a pullback after that swing high to around $70 area, right? And then I said, once we get that $70 area, that's when I'm going to start thinking about accumulation, right? So, and you can see we wicked down, if you look at the 4-hour here, literally into $70 most recently, right? This was 2 days ago. And so This starts to help us answer the question, when do I buy, right? And this is a good picture. This is a good representation. You just saw the whole situation play out. We overextended, and this is the 4-hour, by the way, but we're overextended on Litecoin. I'm using Litecoin as an example. And I start thinking about buying when I start seeing what levels can we retrace back to. That's my accumulation area, wherever we're going to retrace back to. So in this case, the $70 area. So the biggest thing in terms of accumulation is this. Just because we hit $70 doesn't mean I went heavy accumulating, right? We pulled back to $70 area does not mean I'm heavily accumulating. That's my area where I start accumulating a little bit more. And we've talked about this, and I'm not going to dig into the technical analysis aspect of this too much, but down to that $60 area, if not $50 area, there's certainly great potential for Litecoin to consolidate around that $50 to $60 area. That's my heavy accumulation area, right? And that's for another video. However, this $70 area is when I start accumulating a little bit. And so for context, within Litecoin from that swing high, we're down. $70 is down around 29%. I'm happy with that dip right there and accumulating there, adding more Litecoin there. So let's keep digging into this concept of how to accumulate. And right here, I'm going to post a link in the chat. And I'm actually just going to type it in the description below as well. But that's a link to a TradingView post that I did. I really don't remember when I posted this. When was this? This was last year. This was December 18th, 2018. This is my long-term chart. We still use it to this day. We're going to look at it in a couple minutes. But it gives an explanation of what's going on here on the chart. And it truly does simplify my buying strategy. There are 5 main things that I look at every time I'm thinking about buying. Number 1 is support or resistance using our Fibonacci. And I'm not going to read over this whole thing. I just want to name some points for you. Number 1 is support or resistance at our Fibonacci retracement. You just saw our first area of support on that Litecoin pullback around $70 in that Fibonacci channel. So we use that Fibonacci retracement for most recent swing low, where I thought about accumulating Litecoin after swing high to 100. There's our Fibonacci. Number 2, breakout targets on both the downside and upside, using traditional patterns like triangles and wedges. So if we're hitting targets, especially within the Fibonacci area, what patterns play into that target, right? What patterns are confluent, meaning in that same area at that same time as the Fibonacci. Number 3, the confluence of 50 moving average and 200 moving average. Huge. We're going to talk about that. Number 4, the combination of slower momentum oscillators and faster. So really just generally our momentum oscillator indicators, stock RSI or RSI or MACD. Number 5, lastly, which some disagree with, is the data that we have to look at for Bitcoin, right? Those are the 5 things I use. It's very simple. There's no crazy theories involved into how I accumulate Bitcoin and Litecoin. So let's start with that 5th point, which is the historical data we have on Bitcoin. Here it is. This is the historical data we have on Bitcoin. If you zoom out on the charts, it's almost like you can almost predict what's going to happen next. You get a good idea of what's potentially going to happen next, and it's played out so well for us. If you've been watching this channel throughout 2018 into 2019 now, this chart back here, this last bear market, has played out beautifully in comparison to this bear market. It has helped us anticipate so strongly what may be ahead for Bitcoin, and it's played out nicely. So, and I don't know how my Fibonacci retracement got removed here. So this is a long-term Fibonacci retracement. I'm just going to add it real quick while I'm doing this video. So that 786 line is a very important line on this chart. I thought I had it locked. So there's our 786 retracement on the weekly long-term chart. So we got it charted there again. We're good to go. Just going to leave it there for now. So let's look at, and this is going to play into when am I buying? Because I think that's probably a big question everybody has. If you watch my videos, when's Dan buying? You know, you're wondering when you're going to buy, and I'm always wondering when I'm going to buy as well. So look at the last bear market, right? We have two, and if you've been watching the channel, you've seen this, right? We've talked about this. We have two areas where we kind of might be right now. We have this area, resistance at a 50 moving average on the weekly chart. And I keep screwing that up with this brush. So we have that 50 moving average weekly resistance, or we have this area, which is to say, is Bitcoin right now in the middle of making a move through that 50 moving average? So we have kind of a short-term bearish scenario where we might get rejection. And then we have pretty much a really long-term bullish scenario where Bitcoin just is about to make its huge, strong move out of this bear market, right? We're at one or the other. And there's literally no way to understand or comprehend or figure out where exactly we are. Benji Jojo, 0.25 LTC. The problem is that people think like traders instead of holders. If you think long-term LTC and I don't know why I can't, or even BTC are cheap right now. Agreed, Benji. Benji, thank you for the super chat. 0.25 for the LAUNCHPAD Foundation. 100%. And there might be traders, right? And maybe they're doing really well. If you're a good trader, you can kill it in these markets. But most people can't trade, right? Most people can't leave the emotionality out of it. Most people lose in trading. So yes, Benji, I agree with you. If you're a long-term holder, it makes it that much easier to invest and to accumulate. It makes it that much easier to buy the dip. So Bitcoin is either at this point, and thank you, Benji, for the 0.25, man. I really appreciate it. So and I'm actually, instead of counting it, I'm just going to measure it. From this 50 moving average resistance to the actual break, we had 13 weeks, right? Like 3 months between that area. And in that 3 months, after Bitcoin saw resistance there, Bitcoin saw 35% to the downside, right? So we have to take that into account right now in terms of when to buy, when to accumulate. And this is me now talking for myself. I'm taking this into account, saying the possibility for 35%, similar to that last bear market, in the next 2 to 3 months, consolidation to the downside for Bitcoin is extremely strong. This could be that first rejection area at the 50 moving average on the weekly chart. So when I'm asking myself, Dan, when are you going to buy? Is it right here when we're getting this weekly moving average, 50 moving average resistance with potential 35% downside? I'll tell you this. If Bitcoin shows in the next week or so some strength and we start actually breaking above this 50 moving average, like legit, right? If you can go to a more real-time look at Bitcoin on this weekly chart, and you can see like this weekly is like just hovering around that 50 moving average. That's not strong enough for me. But if Bitcoin actually, and let me go back to this other chart, if Bitcoin actually begins to see some upside, right? We start cruising up to closer to that $6,000 range. That is a very interesting area where I might consider Bitcoin might be kind of off to the races at this point, and I might slowly accumulate. Nothing crazy, right? But right now at this resistance level, I'm number one, extremely happy with my portfolio, right? So if Bitcoin takes off, goes crazy, I'm fine with that, right? I've done a lot of accumulating in this bear market at this bottom. I'm extremely happy with my portfolio for Bitcoin and Litecoin. So if we take off and this continues, I'm happy with that. So my biggest thing right now in terms of buying is, are we going to get this very similar pullback that we got in that last bear market? We're talking 35% to the downside. Do I have one more shot to buy a $3,500 Bitcoin, $4,000 Bitcoin? That's what I'm most keenly aware of. That is where I will be buying. And I will probably be buying very strongly. Litecoin will be making a similar move to the downside, if not even more, on a volatility basis. And so I'll be accumulating very strongly Litecoin as well. That is when I will be buying Bitcoin and Litecoin. That's number one win. That's the strongest win. That's my heaviest accumulation area win. And to even answer the question more broadly, when I buy, I'm always buying Bitcoin and Litecoin, everybody. I don't say that in my videos, but I'm always accumulating. These prices long term to me are extremely awesome prices. And I think we had Benji, one of our super chatters and supporters here, say that. These prices are cheap now, or even 40% to the downside. And it's just true. So everybody, I just want to let you know this. This isn't financial advice. I'm always accumulating Bitcoin and Litecoin. It's part of my long-term play. It's more of a question of how much am I buying, and at what price am I buying more of Bitcoin and Litecoin. Liquid Canvas, $5 super chat. Most traders don't even look at the charts. They have custom indicators suited for their trading style. Litecoin, Litecoin, wear the light. That's a good point. A lot of traders just they have their indicators set and trades are placed without them even really looking. Liquid Canvas, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Love seeing your name in the chats, and thank you for coming by. So that's really the broad answer to the question of when I buy. I'm always buying. And that's probably important to be transparent about. That doesn't mean I think you should always buy. You should have your own approach on how you want to play this game. But right now, in terms of this long-term trend of Bitcoin, I do believe there is a strong potential for accumulation, and we've talked about this many times on this channel, accumulation right here in between the 200 moving average, the 50 moving average, and the 786 Fibonacci retracement, right down to $4,000, $4,500 area. There's so much potential for a pullback and consolidation. It's exactly what happened in the last bear market. If we get that, the 35%, or even if it's 30%, whatever pullback we get around that area would be insanely bullish for me. I know the thought of a $4,000 Bitcoin right now when we had these nice gains isn't the most uplifting thing to think about, but I'm telling you, if you're long-term here, if you're not a trader, I hope you can see and understand the value and the promise in a consolidation like that, a final consolidation like that. Not only is it healthy from a technical analysis perspective for long-term gains, but the fact that it's so in line to the last bear market just solidifies this whole thing of taking historical data and applying it to our charts today. So if we get a pullback, everybody, be prepared for it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. I really would not worry about it too much if I were you. So that's Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin on the daily, here's the thing. This really puts it into perspective. When do I buy Bitcoin? When do I buy Litecoin? This is when I buy. And you can see it in a bull market. And we'll be doing videos like this. And maybe I'll even just start saying when I buy, right? Not to give you financial advice. I do not want to give you financial advice, but these are when I buy. 40% to the downside, 34% to the downside, 35% to the downside, right? And they happen over and over and over again, bull market or bear market. So those are the moves we're going to be looking at for Bitcoin, for Litecoin. That's when I buy. The question that you have to ask yourself is, how much are you comfortable with? And what is your accumulation strategy look like in the first place? Like, do you dollar cost average in? Are you buying once a week? Are you buying a little every day? You have to take all of these things into account. And everybody has a different opinion on their approach to the markets. Wendell says it's just a matter of how much to buy and when. Agreed. And that's a decision you have to make. And I would not listen to a YouTuber in terms of making that decision. So we see on Bitcoin on the weekly chart what could potentially happen, right? We see the potential for a pullback after we get resistance here at the 50 moving average, a pullback down to the 200 moving average or slightly above. And you see you can see the confluence of these different patterns, right? Down in this area, namely this ascending triangle that we broke out of, right? So at the very least, a $4,000 Bitcoin in consolidation could truly play out, right? And that's what I want to be prepared for. That's when I'll be buying heavily. Litecoin, same thing, different looking chart, right? What happened in the last bear market for Litecoin? It's simple. Litecoin saw ridiculous gains coming out of the bottom. And then what happened? We retraced all the way back down to 50 moving average on the weekly chart. And so it is. We wonder, is the same thing going to happen? Ridiculous gains coming out of the bottom, swing low. And then are we going to retrace back down to the 50 moving average right now in the low 60s on the weekly chart? It's a huge possibility. We're right there. I mean, this is the type of move that could happen in literally 10 minutes, right? Very quickly. We could be down here in the $60 area, and we could be down here in the $45 to $50 area, the 200 moving average, right? Support at either of those areas is long-term bullish, everybody. I want to throw that out there. Bearish would be we don't see support above the 200 moving average, right? Even breaking through the 50 moving average on the weekly, breaking through $60, it could be scary for some, but what we really want to look at is the 200 moving average on the weekly. Is there support there? If there is, extremely big buy zone for me. But at the very least, down to $60, the 50 moving average on Litecoin, that's also an extremely large buy zone for me. If you're wondering, well, if you think, Dan, that Bitcoin or that Litecoin can go down to this 200 moving average, that pink line, that's another 25% to the downside. Well, I have news for you. Technical analysis, put aside, $62, $50, I don't care. Zoomed out on the charts, I really don't care. And I think I probably said the same thing when we were in the low $20. I don't care. Long-term, Litecoin, I do not believe, will be in these areas, right? So I can sit around and I can be patient. If I accumulate heavily at the 50 moving average on Litecoin around $60 and it goes down to $50, guess what? I'll accumulate heavily again. I'm in a position where I'm happily accumulating when I feel the need to. But one thing that remains true that you'll notice in my accumulation, in my buying, is the fact that it's always in a dip, right? We're always seeing massive downside. So if Litecoin continued to the downside from swing low, our first heavy accumulation area is 38% to the downside. Our second heavy accumulation is 53% to the downside. So that gives you an idea of when I buy. And all that it takes, that approach, all that it takes is patience, right? And so a good idea of patience is back here when I did this video talking about the Fibonacci retracement. And I'm going to play it again in case anybody new is here. From a technical perspective, it's very simple. We wicked down to $76, so that I'm anticipating. But we have. In every pattern, we always talk about breaking to the downside back to whatever barrier was just broken, right? And there's no real defined time frame on when that will happen, but we're always looking for a move. In a picture-perfect technical analysis, Litecoin in this scenario will hit its target at around $108, $110 down to test this trend line. Laid out, that's what it would look like. But there are no set rules on how things we can take it Fibonacci from right there to swing high. And we can even look, even on the short term, there is confluence with, and this is the 4-hour chart, the 618 and the 786. There's confluence with that $70 area to that intercedes with the upper trend line. So for pullback's sake, that is a great target area for just that first level of support to watch for. And if momentum looks good, and if volume, depending on volume as well, that is the part where I tend to start accumulating and buying that dip, right? So my point here is this. My point here, sorry, I got a text. My point here is this. This was 3 weeks ago when Litecoin was swing high, almost hit $100, right? This was the 4-hour chart. So was this the 4-hour chart? Yeah, I think this was the 4-hour chart we were looking at. And I'm talking about a $70 Bitcoin or Litecoin. I'm talking about that's when I want to buy Litecoin. And we're at around $90 when I'm doing this video. So it goes to show the number one thing that you need to have when you're accumulating and buying crypto is patience, especially when the markets are doing well. You want to be in a position with your portfolio when the markets are doing well where you're enjoying it. You're not stressed out about thinking about, oh, I'm going to miss the boat here. Like things are taking off and I don't have enough. You don't want to be in that position. The best way to not be in that position is to have accumulated enough dips where you have a nice portfolio and you're comfortable. It's way better to buy a dip than it is to buy the top, right? Listen, people might have gotten into crypto literally in this week when Litecoin was at the high $90. That might be their first purchase for Litecoin, and now they're down $74. Long term, I do not think it'll matter as long as they hold. I think it'll be an insanely good investment for them. But short term, right now, 3 weeks from that area of where they bought, they're not that happy right now, right? They're like, that was such a bad decision. I'm down like 30% or whatever, and I can't believe this happened. So that goes to show why it's my approach to buy the dips. And then these are our areas for buying the dip. It's very simple. It's honestly, we can dig into the 4-hour, we can dig into the daily, we can look at patterns that play into these areas, right? Like this current falling wedge that Litecoin is in, you can see going down to the $60 area on the 4-hour chart. It's one of the things we use, right? And it's one of the things I talked about. You want that confluence of moving averages, of Fibonacci, and patterns all confluent in the same area. And that's currently what's happening for Litecoin, right? This $60 to $70 area is very confluent with the Fibonacci retracement, that swing low to swing low to swing high, Fibonacci 786 to $70 area, falling wedge pattern, right? And then what else is there? If you go to the weekly chart, the other thing that is there is the 50 moving average. So 50 moving average is our first area of really key support. It's what happened in the last bear market. If we get a week or two trading above the 50 moving average, that's a really solid sign. And we can trade sideways for months. I don't even care, but I will be accumulating Litecoin at those levels. I don't necessarily accumulate Litecoin heavily when we're hitting swing highs. I don't think that's the best approach. I want to throw this out there. My entire approach is my approach. This is not financial advice. I'm not sitting here trying to teach you exactly what to do. But I do know there are many people out there on Twitter, on YouTube. They're just calling for certain things to happen, and they're very sure of it, right? They sell it to you. Some of these are bullish videos. Some of these are bearish videos, but they're all in on a certain scenario happening. They're so convinced of it. And I think the emotionality of their stance and their strategy, it literally screams through the speakers and through the screen. And I don't think there's much wisdom in this volatile market to call one or the other. The best approach is to use extreme contrast analysis. Look at the extreme upside, look at the extreme downside, figure out how you want to accumulate. That's it. And I know there's probably a lot of people that might want to just find that easy approach, which is to say, find a YouTuber that can tell them what to do and just make the decision for them. But I have news for you. That is not how the world works. That's not how success works. If you want to have success in any area of your life, not just accumulating and investing in something, if you want to have a success in anything, you literally have to make up your own decision. You have to do your own due diligence and gather the data yourself to make your own decision based on your personal situation, your personal financial situation. And look, Samir, right there, backing me up. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for backing me up. $4.99 Samir for the Launchpad Foundation, but he says it perfectly. Make your own decisions. It's not rocket science, everybody. There's no YouTuber, there's no Twitter leader, there's literally nobody in this world that's going to tell you what to do with your money, and they're going to be right about it every time. Not going to happen. So please be careful out there in the crypto world. It's extremely volatile. It's extremely risky. This space that we're in, look at Litecoin. This is extremely early stage. This is Litecoin zoomed out on the weekly chart. And just to give you an example, like this is literally very early stage. The future is unknown, right? The future's looking bright, in my opinion. That's why I'm heavily invested in Bitcoin and Litecoin and cryptocurrency space. My whole business, it is banking on the fact that cryptocurrency is going to succeed. My whole firm that I run is banking on the fact that these startups are going to succeed. I'm taking a huge risk, but it's just my life. I enjoy taking risk, and I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the space, and I truly do believe this technology is world changing, and it's going to change the future on so many different levels, right? So that's it. That is when I buy Bitcoin and Litecoin, and I try to dig into it a little bit more. Obviously, if you follow the YouTube channel, you know, yes, it's simple. I buy the dip, but it really is a lot of things playing into that dip, right? And I'm going to post this one more time. I think it's really good if you want to check it out. That's my trading view I posted in December, late December or mid-December 2018. It's our long-term chart for Bitcoin. We still use it. We're just using it today right here. This is the chart playing out nicely, taking into consideration this last bear market bottom. And what it does, if you're interested, it explains my five key points in approaching and accumulating Bitcoin and Litecoin. So that's key support and resistance based on Fibonacci. That's breakout targets based on patterns, right? That's the 50 moving average, the 200 moving average. That's number 4, the combination of slower moving oscillators and faster moving oscillators. And number 5, historical data, right? Those are the 5 things that I look at, and I look for all these things to converge beautifully together, right? I always use the word confluence. That's when all these things come together. A pattern comes into a moving average, comes into a breakout target based on the patterns, based on moving oscillators. It's when they all come together. And then if at the fifth thing comes together and is confluent, then we have our data working for us. So that's it, everybody. That is it. My YouTube's saying I'm not even online right now. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm pretty much done. But if you're still here, let me know if it's working. Press 1 if you can, because I'm really just curious. But I appreciate everybody coming in. Okay, I'm live. Good. I appreciate everybody coming by. I know it's like literally middle afternoon on a Thursday, but it just makes it easier for me to do a quick live video and just talk to all of you. I hope that you're having a good week. I should probably do a technical analysis maybe a little later, or I'll get to it tomorrow, but definitely want to track what's going on the short term, because I know many are wondering, where's our next short-term short-term resistance or support. And so we'll definitely talk about that in the next video. But at the very least, be careful out there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Super chatters, thank you very much. I appreciate you so much. I really do. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and God bless.